Meteorologist Josh Johns here in the 25 Weather Center. We are tracking severe weather here on this Friday morning, a severe thunderstorm warning that does include Gatesville, Waco, Temple, and Killeen. You'll see it when I pop it up here on the screen. That has Coryell, Bosque, Hamilton, as well as Hill, or small part of Hill, western McLennan County, western Bell County, north Bell County as well, and then back over towards Coryell and Lampasas counties for that severe thunderstorm that's rolling through Gatesville at this time, and this already produced a confirmed 62-mile-per-hour wind gust near Evant in Lampasas County. So this is a severe thunderstorm that is capable of producing gusty winds up to 65 miles per hour as it is rolling off to the southeast at around 50 miles per hour. And I'm trying to get your comments turned up on my computer. When I do, I'll be able to see what you're saying. But there's that storm. You can see how it's got that bow echo shape from Meridian down here through Gatesville and Lampasas. That's a sign we have gusty winds coming in on the backside of that is accelerating now as it is coming into the area. And in particular, I think your gustiest winds are going to be just north of Gatesville. You can see how this really accelerated through. That's heading towards Crawford and McGregor. So Crawford, McGregor, you'll be up for some very gusty winds here soon. You can see that storm. We'll put a track on it for you as it is moving off to the east at about 50 miles per hour. That would take it close to Lampasas by around 322. Fort Cavazos coming up by 334. Waco by 342. Killeen by 344, rather. Harker Heights by 354, and then potentially rolling into Temple shortly after 4 o'clock if it continues at its current speed and doesn't move up at all. And I'm trying to look for any more of those severe weather reports. I'm going to pull the comments up on my computer here so that I can see what you're saying as you're sitting at home in your neighborhood looking at this storm coming through. Again, if you are in the path of this storm, I want you to be heading away from windows and in the center part of your house, kind of staying away from the windows where that gusty wind can come through. This is not a tornadic thunderstorm. That is the good news. It does have that potential to produce a little bit of hail, maybe up to the size of quarters within that as well, though the biggest threat with this does continue to look to be that 50-mile-per-hour wind. Bailey, I forgot I cannot get on the Wi-Fi with my computer, so I'm going to pull these up on my phone, actually. Yes, Gatesville, very windy. That makes sense. Thank you, Hope, for that. And Hope also asking if there's rotation within the storm. Nothing that really looks tornadic. Now, occasionally, on the gusty side of these thunderstorms, when they gust out like that, you can get little spin-ups, little gustnados that can happen. Those typically produce very minor damage, not like what we saw in Temple or what we saw in Oklahoma here the last few days. It's nothing that is a big tornado like that, but you can get little spin-ups on the leading edge, and that's why I'm watching things very closely on multiple radar screens here, and there's nothing that jumps out to me as being tornadic, so that is good news there. We don't want to have a tornado situation. However, wind is wind. 60-mile-per-hour wind can cause issues too, and we really do not want to see any sort of damage coming out of that, but 60-mile-per-hour winds can do that, and so that's why they warn those storms for 60-mile-per-hour winds and above. I can see more of these comments here, and Elizabeth saying very windy in Gatesville. Thank you for that report, Elizabeth. The winds that are coming out of there, I'm looking to see what the report came in from Gatesville here. Grab this mouse rather. And we do have a gust that happened there at 44 miles per hour coming through the Gatesville airport. So you're at least seeing 45-mile-per-hour winds out of this storm as it's coming through, which, you know, that can knock down a few branches, but it's that 60-mile-per-hour threshold where we start to see the damage. So here's the latest track on it, now speeding up that storm just a tad, taking it closer to Killeen by 315, China Spring by 326, and Waco by 339. Waco, that gives you about 30 minutes before that comes in. Killeen, it gives you just about 5 to 10 minutes, so we'll likely see thunderstorms starting to come in. Got another report from Bridget, thank you, Bridget, of the winds being strong in Fort Gates, near Gatesville and Flat. I appreciate that report, Bridget. Thank you. Sorry, Bridgetta, not Bridget. Again, this is a gusty storm that's coming through with 60-mile-per-hour winds. I mentioned that threat of hail. Let's look at the hail core real quick, and you can see there is the potential in there for some small coin hail, so we're talking closer to dimes to nickels that will be possible, mainly to the east of Gatesville on the leading edge of that storm. That's where we're seeing the highest cloud tops, and that's where the storm will be the strongest. You can see the tops here, which are going up at times. Let's see if it'll filter on in there. There it goes. At times getting up to around 40, 50,000 feet. Now, these are down from where they were as they worked through our western counties. You can see how we went back there. You had some of the deeper reds showing up. That was a sign that we had a taller storm, closer around 50 to 60, or 50,000 feet rather. And when a storm gets higher, it typically is more severe. So as we're seeing those tops drop down, that's a sign that the storm may be weakening. But as it weakens, it puts out that very gusty wind, which is why we probably have that warning right now. And again, you can see that storm that is just accelerating through. What's happening that we got that low pressure center that's developed here over Bosque County, and so the wind is accelerating on the backside of that low, which is why we're seeing this storm bow out. Those bowed out thunderstorms tend to produce the gustiest winds, which is why we have this warning in place now. So Crawford, McGregor, you're likely seeing the strongest part of this storm coming in now. No reports there from Gatesville of anything that's reached 60 mile per hour, but we did see a 62 mile per hour wind gust in Evant. Again, that's along 281 to the west of Gatesville. That's what rolled into town, and you now have 45 mile per hour winds at least reported at the Gatesville airport. So still a very potent storm that's coming through, and I think it's starting to bow out a little bit more as it comes off the plains and down towards McGregor. Devin asking any word for the King area. Well, King is just to the west of Gatesville. You're seeing heavy rain. The gustiest wind is probably going to be just to your east now. It's along the leading edge that you see some of this gustiest wind come through. So King, you may be seeing a little bit of improvement. Look at all the lightning though. And one thing is the lightning has gone down a little bit with this storm. So again, it's losing just a touch of intensity, but it can still produce those gusty winds. I'm getting questions on if it'll make it to Rosebud. It has to hold together Rosebud and Whitney. Whitney, you're already seeing rain and thunderstorms now. You're still going to see the stuff over Bosque. Parts of Rosebud, it really depends on how long the storm holds together. I think the storm's going to hold together, but will it hold together at its current strength? I don't think it will completely be at its current strength, but it still could be a little on the stronger side. Well, it's going to go through Gatesville here. It'll probably take about 30 minutes before you see the heaviest rain kind of dissipate a bit. We can kind of get an idea here by looking at the last 30 minutes. Hamilton, you're still seeing rain, but you had the heaviest rain 30 minutes ago. So giving it about 30 minutes for it to get the strongest part of the storm out of your area in Gatesville. Bailey, we need to start thinking about another cut-in as this starts to come into McLennan County. If we get a chance, ignore my alarms. Samantha saying it's hailing near the hospital in Gatesville on the west side. If you can tell me how big that hail is, Samantha, would appreciate that. Daryl's asking if Waco is getting more. They are indeed going to get more thunderstorms because that severe thunderstorm warning does continue until 3:30. So Bailey, let me know when we're good for that cut-in, and we'll do that. Get a report. I'm in Axtell. Do I need to wake up my kids and get them away from windows? You know, I'd pull them away from windows when that gets closer to you. You still have a little bit of time there in Axtell because that storm is going to take a little longer to get through. Again, that track, taking it off to the east, that puts it close to Axtell by around 3:48. We're going on air, so I'll be back with y'all shortly. Well, good morning, meteorologist Josh Johns here in the Weather Center. We are tracking a severe thunderstorm that's working into parts of McLennan County. That severe thunderstorm warning you can see outlined in the yellow box. I'll highlight it for you. It does include the west side of McLennan County, the west side of Waco with this as well. And we now have a new update on that. It's been shaved a little bit, so it's dropped parts of Lampasas, parts of Coryell, and all of Hamilton County. Now includes Bell, Bosque, Coryell, and McLennan County as that is continuing to move through. Close to nickel-size hail and winds to 65 miles per hour will be possible with the storm. Now, the only report we have seen has been a 62-mile-per-hour wind gust. It was back in Evant. That's along Highway 281. Since then, I've not seen any more reports, but we'll loop it for you. You can see how this squall line of thunderstorms is working through central Texas. It's just this little portion right here that's got what we call this bow echo, where you're getting winds rushing out in the backside of the storm that's accelerating it through. That means that it can produce gusty winds. up to around 60 miles per hour. And in this case, the warning going for 65 miles per hour. And you can see that warning box again from Meridian down to the west side of Waco. So Crawford, McGregor, you're under this. Lake Belton as well. Temple, Killeen, you're under this. And we're probably getting some of the heavier winds now coming into Copper's Cove. It's this apex of the bow where I think you're going to see the highest winds, and that will be near the McGregor area. So let's go ahead and we'll put a track on this storm for you as it is moving off to the east at about 50 miles per hour. There is that storm track. We'll take it to the east and the southeast here, probably a little more east than southeast. And there's your towns. Fort Cavazos around 318, Killeen around 324, Harker Heights closer to 330, Waco 337, 344 for Belton, 347 for Temple. Marlin, if it holds together, closer to 4 a.m. 4 a.m. also for Rogers, and 4:15-ish there for Rosebud if it holds together. So Waco, you're probably about 20 minutes from seeing this severe thunderstorm. Temple, you're about 30 minutes, and Killeen, closer to the next 5 to 10 minutes this storm will roll through. I want to look at the wind mode and see if we can see anything funky showing up on here. And you can see where the gustiest wind is coming out of that, where we're seeing this little apex of the bow right here. That's near McGregor. That's where you're seeing the leading edge of the wind, and that's likely where you'll see the highest gusts. And again, that has gone up to 62 miles per hour closer to the Evant area. Now, I know a lot of you think, hey, the last time we talked about wind, that was Temple. That was, you know, what they saw the other day in Dallas-Fort Worth. These are not to the same level. These winds that are showing up here, yeah, they're showing up at 60, 70 miles per hour showing up back here in the storm, but that's looking a few thousand feet up into the air. So it takes a lot for that to mix down. And in this case, the temperatures are kind of too cool for that to happen. So we may see some gusty winds to 60. We may even see them go up to 70. However, the 80, the 90, the 100 mile per hour wind gusts, this is not going to be a storm like that. 60 can still cause damage. 70 can too, of course, and it can knock out power. But as far as the massive damage we saw out of the Temple area, the massive damage we saw out of Dallas-Fort Worth more recently here earlier this week, this is not going to be one of those type of storms. Still, we want to give you a heads up as it is working through McGregor. You're going to get the wind shift here shortly. You can see the green, the winds blowing out of the storm. Red, that's winds just coming up from the south that have been around all night tonight. Those are coming through, and so McGregor, you're going to see this wind shift. Then eventually, it'll make it to Crawford, South Bosque, and towards Woodway. So get ready for some very gusty winds to come out of the west, and that potential for some of them to reach up closer to 65 miles per hour. This storm also has the potential to produce a little bit of hail, although those hail sizes are going to be relatively small on the edge of coins. So dime, nickel size hail from Oglesby to Coryell City, that's going to be moving towards McGregor. So get ready for a little bit of small hail within that. That's not going to cause too many issues for you, but just enough. Ignore my alarm. Typically, that is just to remind me, hey, you need to be in the building. So let's talk about this storm as it continues to show up here. There it is. You aren't the only area seeing thunderstorms. We do have thunderstorms stretching back towards Bosque, Hill County. You can see that lightning closer to Hill County, also back towards Groesbeck, Bosque County getting a lot of lightning. You're probably waking up to that. Lampasas, you're seeing heavy thunderstorms as well. It's not the gustier edge of the storms. And even back towards San Saba, a thunderstorm that's trying to get going. Although that is not severe, it is producing a lot of lightning too. And then back into parts of McLennan County, that's where we have that biggest, most threatening part of the thunderstorm, which is that threat for 60 to 65 mile per hour winds, again, working into the western side of McLennan County from Valley Mills down through Crawford and McGregor. You can see that thunderstorm going through. I'm getting a lot of comments on the Facebook Live asking if there's any rotation. There's nothing that has jumped out to me as tornadic yet, which is good news. Now, occasionally when these little bow echoes come through, you can see these little spin-ups on the front edge of that. Those typically are fairly weak. We call them gustnados. They may produce F0, maybe F1 damage, but it won't be the big tornadoes like you see in Oklahoma. You have to watch for that anytime those come through, and that's why I have the radar up here on the other screen as well, looking at some off-air products to make sure we don't have anything that appears to be rotating. At this time, there's nothing that jumps out to me as tornadic. Now, gusty winds, yes, especially in western McLennan County, where I am seeing the apex of that bow just a little bit more. Now, one thing that has struck me is the lightning has decreased in this, so there's signs that this storm is weakening, which makes sense. We had the rain earlier yesterday into this morning, and that stabilizes the atmosphere. So there's less warm and muggy air for these storms to ingest as it comes through. So that's good news. That should help this storm to weaken. But for now, it does remain capable of 60 to 65 mile-per-hour winds as this rolls through Bell and McLennan County. We know you're wanting the up-to-date information. We have it over on the digital format. Real quick, I want to give you a look at this severe thunderstorm watch that continues until 7 a.m. It does include a large portion of central Texas, areas west of I-35, as well as Falls, Milam, Robertson, and Bell, McLennan counties as well. So we still have that threat through 7 a.m. I'll have the latest update coming up here on Good Morning Texas. We'll cut in if we continue to need to. I imagine we'll get another cut in coming in here as this comes into Waco. For now, though, I want to transition more to the digital format. You can find us on Facebook and on the 25 News app. We'll keep you updated there for now, and we'll get back in on programming shortly. But for now, thanks for staying with us. We're tracking storms, and we're keeping you advised. So if you're still with us here on Facebook, want to continue to give you an idea of these thunderstorms that are coming through. We'll get back in on programming shortly, but want to at least give that time to breathe so we aren't constantly on air with this not being a massive threat like what we saw roll into Temple or what we saw roll into Dallas earlier this week. However, these are potent thunderstorms that continue to work through. So for those of you on digital, we are continuing to bring you some information. Now, Reese is asking if Land Passes is under a warning. You are officially, however, the stronger part of that storm is well to your east. It's going to be right here in the apex of the bow that's coming in here to the west side of McLennan County that is moving towards Waco. So, Bailey, probably in the next 5 to 7 minutes, we'll get back in because that would be bringing it through parts of Waco and Killeen. So the next 5 minutes is what we'll plan on. Just to give them a heads up. We're communicating back and forth with our folks to get us on air and also with production back there. Bailey's working tonight to get us on air and to really just be able to have us hitting this from all forms. Let's see. Wind is brutal in McGregor, says Jacqueline. No power. Winds are starting to pick up in Killeen. Just woke up. Thank you for that, Luis. And lightning is insane right now, says Devin. Wind's starting to pick up in Killeen. Appreciate that, guys. Keep bringing in all this information. Jeff is asking about China Spring. China Spring, you'll be getting the winds here soon, shortly. So, Bailey, just let me know when we're good there in that time frame. Sarah's saying pretty strong winds in Coppers Cove. Thank you for that, Sarah. You can see the lightning coming through. And we're seeing a little uptick in lightning now as that's coming into some of our more populated areas. There may be a few more areas where the charge is there just because of all the buildings that the lightning can hit that just a little bit more. But, I mean, this continues to be a strong storm. We'll look at the velocity again, see if that has picked up at all. And you'll notice, we'll walk it through time. The winds are not as blue as they were earlier along the leading edge. So it's possible the wind values are coming down just a little bit. Still trying to see, let's see what McGregor reported, see if that came up at all. Just 44 miles per hour, so close to 45 miles per hour. Crawford is terrifying wind from Erica. Thank you for that, Erica. Appreciate you bringing us that report. I also want to point out for those of you that may be thinking, hey, need to go out and get something. Not really the best idea right now. We do have a flash flood warning in addition to that with this green box here. We have one that includes parts of Bosque and Hill County, and then this one here that does include a chunk of Bosque, McLennan, back over to Hill and Limestone County, including all of McLennan County. We had all that rain earlier. We've had so much rain here this spring. You add the rain on top of that, and that does lead to these issues that we have already seen with these thunderstorms that have come through and just continued to drop all of the rain. Bailey, what you got? Severe thunderstorm watch goes through 7 a.m. So, and folks at home, that is these orange box, or these orange counties here. That is a severe thunderstorm watch that continues until 7 a.m. So that is why we'll still track this even with the warnings. Not in effect for all of Central Texas. We just have this one warning right now. It is in effect for our populated areas. That's why we are on air and online, keeping you covered in all fronts. Should you lose power, you can always check us out online on the 25 News Facebook page as well as the 25 News app. Checking a few of these more. Kayla is saying the wind is terrible in McGregor. Wind is howling in Crawford. Thank you for saying that. And Ann says wind's picking up in Wind Rivers. All right. So, Bailey, let's try to get on if we can. That'll work. Thank you. You can see all the lightning continue with this storm, though, folks. This is a very powerful storm that's moving through. Again, it's not to the same level as what blew through Temple or what blew through Dallas. It's still scary when it wakes you up at 3:30 in the morning. That's why we're here, keeping you safe, keeping you advised, and trying to keep you calm here as these storms are coming through. I know my dog didn't like it earlier this morning at all. We're going to be getting on TV here, so stay with us. Well, good morning. Meteorologist Josh Johns here in the Weather Center. We're continuing to track severe thunderstorms working through central Texas. We have a severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued for parts of McLennan, Bell, Coryell, Bosque, down into parts of Lampasas County. You can see that box there. It does include the west side of McLennan County, the northwestern half of Bell County, the southeastern half of Coryell County, and a chunk of Bosque County as well. That goes till 3:30. We'll see if they reissue that coming up here in the next 2 minutes. 65-mile-per-hour winds. That's the main threat with this storm, which is now starting to work through. Okay, there's your new warning that just came out. Falls, McLennan, Milam County, and they've dropped the wind speed a little bit down to 60 still. 60-mile-per-hour winds can cause damage, and with this rolling into populated areas, we're going to stay with you here on TV and keep you posted on what's coming through. If you lose power, we're also on digital, Facebook, as well as a 25 News app. So here's a thunderstorm that's working through. You can see this is a line of thunderstorms that stretches from Meridian and Hillsborough down through parts of McLennan County, Coryell, Bell, back into Lampasas, Burnett, and San Saba County. Very heavy thunderstorms coming through. And it's this one portion that has my eye with the potential for the highest wind right now, and that is going to be on the west side of Waco. You can see the heavier thunderstorms now working through from McGregor down through Bruceville, Eddy, Moody, up into Crawford and Valley Mills. Those deeper reds indicating the strongest part of the thunderstorm, and it's in that leading edge where we could see the strongest winds. I'm getting a lot of reports here on Facebook, a lot of folks that are waking up from these winds. They're asking, hey, is this kind of like what we saw in Temple a few weeks ago, or is this kind of like what we saw in Dallas earlier this week? Now, I want to put you at ease right now. It's not the same wind speeds that we saw. Wind is wind. 60 miles per hour can cause damage, but it's not the same as 90 to 100 miles per hour. So the good news is we aren't looking at that type of a thunderstorm. Still, it is a powerful one. We don't want to mess around with it. We already have had a gust to 62 miles per hour in Evant, and we also now have a 64-mile-per-hour gust in parts of Woodway. So that is what is rolling into Waco right now. You don't want to mess around with this storm as it is coming in. We'll put a little bit of a velocity look at this and show you where the gustiest winds are. And one thing to know is we're seeing very high winds showing up right back here. This is closer to that 70-mile-per-hour range over Coryell County. However, it is not mixing all the way to the ground. This is still looking a few thousand feet up. Those winds don't immediately make it down to the ground. You have to have the conditions just right, and in this case this morning, they are not. Still, we are seeing that potential for 60 to 65-mile-per-hour winds with now a confirmed 64-mile-per-hour wind gust that is in place in Woodway. So I'm going to go ahead and pass that gust on to the Weather Service as well. But you can see where that storm is now moving through. Again, South Waco, or West Waco rather, you're seeing the leading edge of this storm down through Spiegelville, Hewitt, Lorena. That is where the highest winds are going to be, right there in what we call the apex of this bow echo. We have a bow echo that's with this storm, but it's this little piece right here that's jutted out a little faster that moved through Crawford, it moved through McGregor. Now it's rolling into the western side of Waco. So you're likely waking up on the west side of Waco. You're hearing the thunder. You're seeing the lightning. Go ahead and take a look at our Syntax Roof Systems camera in downtown Waco. Do we have that, Bailey? Let's take a look at that real quick, and you can see all of the lightning that's back there in the distance as you're looking off to the west now, the Alico building in the distance. Look at the prolific lightning that's happening. Now, this lightning is not as frequent as it was when it was over our western counties, which is a sign the storm itself may be weakening, but when these storms weaken, that's when they tend to put out some of those gusty winds, and that's what has happened here this morning. Go ahead and pass this on to the Weather Service. And you can see, again, the lightning that's there in the distance. Let's go back to the radar real quick. I want to put a track on this storm for you, as we now have that including more of our counties. This storm is moving at about 50 miles per hour, so let me go ahead and redraw that real quick. Moving at about 50 miles per hour, west side of Waco back through Temple and Killeen. We take that off to the east and the southeast, and that would take it closer to Salado by around 350. Marlin close to 356. Let me move out of the way so you can see this track. Rosebud by around 402, Burlington around 407, Groesbeck 417, towards Cossie by around 425, Cameron 432, and Franklin around 436. But right now, the biggest threat continues to be on the west side of Waco. Now, this has not reached our station yet. Our station's on the south side of Waco, and typically when these come in from the west and produce those gusty winds, I'll be able to hear it on the back side of that wall. So this is moving through the west side of Waco right now. You can see the lightning. You can see the very heavy rain. We also have a flash flood warning in effect. Let me go ahead and show you that real quick. That flash flood warning there's that flash flood warning. So flash flood warning in effect for Bosque, Coryell, Hill, McClenny County until 5 a.m. We had the rain that came through earlier this morning. All of that heavy rain that has been falling and continues to have to work through our rivers and our tributaries to try to drain that. For now, that stays and causes the flooding issue when you add a little bit more rain to it. So you don't want to get out on the roads right now with another wave of rain coming through, in addition to the high winds that we are seeing out of the storm. Again, 62-mile-per-hour winds confirmed in Evant and 64-mile-per-hour winds confirmed in Woodway as that's coming through. Now, I can hear the wind starting to hit our building just a little bit more. So the wind now reaching the center of Waco, along with the heavy rainfall, the lightning, and that portion of the storm extending back up to west in Elmont down through Bruceville Eddy. Bell County, I know you have been hit hard here lately. So here is the look at what's going on in Bell County. The leading edge of that storm now coming into Troy, the north side of Temple, the north side of Belton, back over towards Killeen. Some heavy rainfall coming through there, Lake Belton as well. Let's take a look at our Harker Heights camera as the storm's coming through Harker Heights. And you can see the heavy rain that's falling there now, along with these gusty winds that are continuing to blow through. Again, 64-mile-per-hour winds confirmed in Woodway, 62-mile-per-hour winds confirmed in Evant as that has come through. Here's a view of Killeen. As this storm is rolling through Killeen, you're getting heavy rain as well. Not as heavy as Harker Heights, so a sign that some of the heavier rain may be on the leading edge of that storm. But still, you can tell I-14 looks like a mess right now, a lot of rain on it. It looks a little darker there on the edge, too, so I have to wonder if we have seen any reports of power outages. I haven't been able to pull those up real quick. I'm going to pull those up real quick as we look at that. But that storm continuing to roll through. Now, the Weather Service mentioning that there was a 53-knot gust, 61-mile-per-hour gust in McGregor. So now we not only had the 62-mile-per-hour gust in Evant, we've had a 64-mile-per-hour gust in Woodway and a 61-mile-per-hour gust in McGregor. So this is gusty winds that are reaching severe levels as they're rolling into McClenny County. Again, this is now working into Waco, Temple, and Killeen. That's why we're with you here on this Friday morning. We want to continue to keep you up to date. If you happen to lose power, we are streaming on Facebook as well as the 25 News app. You can get information there. Here's the latest track on the storm now as it continues to move to the east. Waco, 336. It's on you right now. We can hear the wind here. We've already had the wind that has occurred in Woodway. It has also occurred in McGregor. Belton High School by around 341. Belton by around 345. Temple by 348. Chilton 353. Marlin closer to 4 a.m. and holding together may near Rosebud closer to 4:15. Take the Killeen Airport camera if you don't mind. Thank you for that. This is the Syntex Roof Systems camera at the Killeen Regional Airport. Look at the heavy rain, the frequent lightning coming down. I know many of y'all probably waking up to this. Again, no tornado warnings in effect. There's nothing that looks tornadic to me on radar, but this is a severe thunderstorm that continues to come through and has produced multiple 60-mile-per-hour plus gusts that have worked through here, and that can cause damage. That's why we're with you. Just with all of the storms we've had here recently, I'm sure it doesn't feel great to wake up to some of these thunderstorms that are coming through, but we're here to walk you through it. We're here to keep you safe as these storms continue to roll through the area. You can see the gusty winds, again, continuing to move through the area. I want to pull up the radar and go over to the velocity mode, make sure that we aren't seeing anything funky. Again, you can just see the leading edge of those gusts that are coming through, and I imagine that these gusts, as they move through town, are going to come down just a little bit. I know we've had a 61 mile per hour gust in McGregor, 64 in Woodway, and 62 in Evant, but these storms are weakening just a tad, and so because of that, those winds should try to come down a bit. The radar also showing that trend as well. There's very high winds back here to the west. That's looking further up in the atmosphere. As you get lower to the atmosphere, we aren't seeing those really high winds. And remember, when we had the storm over Temple a few weeks back, getting another pretty healthy gust here at the station. When we had the storm over Temple a few weeks back, that was showing up as some of the darker blues right over Temple. That's looking about 1,000 feet up. Whether back here, we're looking about 4,000 feet up because radar scans at an angle. And so because of that, that wind likely isn't making it to the ground as strong. Colleen just had a little bit of a gust. Let me see what Colleen's gust was if my mouse will move. We just took a bit of a power hit here at the station. You see that that just went black there? So we are having power outages move through McLennan County now. So some of you probably losing a little bit of that. There's some of the gusty winds. We're getting gusty winds now here at the station. That's on the south side of Waco. If you're familiar with Waco, that's closer to New Road and 35. We have had power, we took a power hit here closer to New Road and 35. If you happen to lose us here on TV, you can go find us on Facebook, and you can also find us on the 25 News app. That's why we're staying with you here this morning. I want to go back over the radar mode, show you where the leading edge of this storm is. These are pretty healthy gusts to be able to hear them right there. I'm trying to look at some of the encore outages too, see if we can see some of those that are coming through. I know some of you likely watching us here this morning, losing a little bit of power and having to switch back over to Facebook. Some of you waking up to this storm. Again, this is severe. It is not tornadic. Wind is wind, but these are 60 mile per hour winds that are potentially working through. For those of you in Burnett County, we have a new warning for you as well. You can see Burnett County there under that warning. Blanco, Burnett, Gillespie, and Llano County through 4:30. Also for the potential for 60 mile per hour winds, which is what we have working through the Waco area right now. That severe thunderstorm warning, you can see it's a massive one. The National Weather Service has gone ahead and said, hey, this whole line is capable of 60 mile per hour winds as it moves east. So that includes parts of McLennan, Limestone, Falls, Robertson, Milam, and Bell County as it's working through. That goes through 4:30. Nickel size hail, 60 mile per hour winds possible with the storm. And again, we've had confirmed gusts up to 64 miles per hour in Woodway. Let's take the downtown Waco camera. This is the Syntex Roof Systems camera in downtown Waco. You're seeing the heavy rain falling there now. Look at all the rain falling. We also have lightning. You're probably seeing the wind gust up to that a bit. Yeah, you can see some of the sheets coming through. So we now have the high winds reaching downtown Waco. Again, these are not tornadic winds. They are gusty. They can cause issues. 60 mile per hour winds can cause damage. We've seen that before. It's not going to cause a massive damage like what we saw in Temple or what we saw in Dallas earlier this week, but it can still cause some issues. So what you want to do as the storm's coming through is you want to stay away from windows and try to get to the center part of your house if you can. If you can't, though, just stay away from windows. That's going to be the best thing. And stay inside. Don't go outside in this because that wind can pick up debris and kind of throw it around. We don't want that. Again, we've had a power hit here at the station, so we have had the report of some power outages across parts of Central Texas. Let me go ahead and look at the encore numbers here. I've gone by county, and in McLennan County now we have a report of 1,600 customers without power. So we have had power outages happen in McLennan County, Bell County, closer to 200 without power, 38 in Coryell County. So McLennan looks to be the highest affected right now. There's the leading edge of those storms. Again, rolling into Waco now, West, Ross, Lacey, Lakeview, Axtell, you're going to get this soon. The backside of McLennan County towards Riesel, towards Mart, you're going to see this soon. It is going down into Robertson County too. You can see the heavier part of this thunderstorm that is now in place. From Hewitt, Lorena, Bruceville, Eddy, starting to lead into Chilton. We know you're watching there in Chilton. Bruceville, Eddy, you saw a tornado earlier last week. This is not a tornadic thunderstorm, but it will produce gusty winds. It's going to wake you up as this comes through. These winds, they hit the windows, They wake you up. The thunder, it's enough to wake you up as well. You can see parts of Bell County, heavier thunderstorms from Troy back through Temple, Belton into Killeen. The leading edge of those storms producing the gusty winds. That's what's now rolling into Troy, Temple, Belton, back over towards Salado as well. So let's get the latest track on this storm for you too, because we want to let you know when this will be rolling into your neighborhood. So here's the track as it's moving off to the east and the southeast, closer to Axtell by around 3:42. I've seen some questions about Axtell here on Facebook, and I'm looking at your Facebook comments too as this storm continues to move through the area. So let me pull those up real quick because I'm still watching them. Axtell by around 3:42, Chilton closer to 3:48, Marlin by 3:57, Bartlett, that's southern Bell County, by around 4:06, Reagan 4:08, Cameron 4:17, Cossey around 4:23, Teague at 4:30, Franklin at 4:36, and Jewett closer to 4:41. Again, I'm watching your comments here. And we're hearing power is out on Holman Avenue. Holman Avenue is going to be on the northwest side of Waco. Thanks for that report, Danny, there. And also, all the reports of gusty winds, no power in Woodway off Santa Fe and Bosque. So having issues with power outages, multiple issues with power outages. I think those Encore numbers may be a little slow. But we'll show you the loop of this thunderstorm. And I want to point out a few things that are happening here. Here's this squall line that's happening. On the north side, we've got a low pressure center that's developed. That's what's routing that gusty winds in. Even as this passes, it's possible the gusty winds last a little bit longer, because once you get those low to form, you can get what's called a wake low kind of forming in the back of those thunderstorms. So even if the storms weaken, they can still produce gusty winds. So even once the storm passes you, you may see some 30, some 40 mile per hour sustained winds. It's the 60 mile per hour winds that causes issues. Got some power outages in McGregor, South Waco, Park Avenue, and as well as rain in Lacey Lakeview. Robinson reporting a little bit of hail and heavy rain and high winds. We mentioned the hail threat. This is not really a hail-producing thunderstorm. However, it is capable of dime to nickel-size hail there on the south side of McLennan County. So you may see a little bit of small hail, but the massive hail that we've seen pictures of out of West Texas from overnight, that's likely not going to be what we end up seeing out of these storms that come through. So we're going to go back over to radar real quick. There's those thunderstorms that continue to move through. Again, a lot of you reporting power outages, gusty winds. The leading edge of the storms now approaching TP&L Reservoir. That's going to be on the east side of McLennan County, back over here towards Chilton, Lott. You're going to see these gusty winds here soon. Westphalia, back over towards Seaton, as well as Zobchikville. You're going to see those gusty winds. Belton, you're seeing them now too. And we continue to see the higher winds, the heavier rain falling in McLennan County, including Waco, back over towards Temple and Killeen. Again, this is why we're here on air, kind of keeping you safe this morning, because we know that with the spring we've had a very busy spring. A lot of anxiety has come with that, and we want to let you know that this is not a tornado that is moving through. It is not a tornadic thunderstorm. However, gusty winds to 60 miles per hour still remains possible. We've had that reported multiple times here in central Texas. 61 mile per hour winds were reported in McGregor, 62 mile per hour winds reported in Evant, and 64 mile per hour winds reported in Woodway earlier. See a couple of more of these questions that have come in. We got a report of some power out in Woodway. Thank you for that. As well as folks being nervous, hey, to get to work, am I going to have to drive through this? Well, one good thing about it coming through as early as it is here at 3:45, it's going to get out of here that much sooner. Yeah, you may still have rain, but as far as these intense winds, these intense thunderstorms coming through, I don't think you'll be dealing with that by the time we reach 5, 6 o'clock. Things should be winding down a little bit more. That being said, we do have a severe thunderstorm watch that goes until 7 a.m. You can see it here for these orange counties. Does include Waco, Temple, and Killeen. We've shaved Hamilton and Mills County off of it. The National Weather Service is San Angelo, keeping Brown County in place. That's why you see that little gap there. But the rest of us back over to Robertson County are under that severe thunderstorm watch until 7 a.m. Seeing any more message here, don't really see anything just yet. If she has those reports, sure. She doesn't have to, but sure. looking at these Encore outages, they've gone up now, close to 5,000 customers without power in Waco. So that's what happens when you get a thunderstorm that can produce 60-mile-per-hour winds. They will cause some issues where you can have the power outages. That can also knock some branches down, and occasionally 60-mile-per-hour winds can cause issues with windows. So that's why we're telling you to stay away from windows. Try to get into the center part of your house. Again, that thunderstorm working through. Here's the warning box again that does include Waco, Temple, Killeen, Bell, Falls, McLennan, Milam County under that till 4:30 in the morning. So the idea is you take this thunderstorm, you move it southeast. By 4:30, it's going to be towards the edge of that warning box. So this is a quick moving little thunderstorm that's coming through. It's causing issues, but it'll be over quick as well. Again, we're still seeing the heavier rain now in Waco as well as Killeen and Temple. The gustiest winds are going to be occurring on the leading edge of that storm. So if you are watching now on the east side of McLennan County, Mount Calm to Elm Mott, Prairie Hill, Mart, Perry, you're seeing those gusty winds starting to arrive. Chilton, as well as Asa. Asa's down there in the Brazos River Valley, down into Lott, parts of Westphalia. Westphalia down into Zobjikville, Seaton, you're seeing those gusty winds as well. The south side of Temple, Heidenheimer, Academy, Salado, you're seeing the gusty winds as you're getting in on the leading edge of that storm. And speaking of gusty winds, I want to look again at the velocities. This is how we measure the wind as it comes from the thunderstorm. And we're seeing some of those colors be a little bit weaker. You're seeing occasional little bursts down here into Bell County where you're seeing some of those light blue colors show up. To give you an idea of what that is, we'll hit this little pixel here. That's close to 60-mile-per-hour winds. You got 60-mile-per-hour winds there closer to Stillhouse Hollow Reservoir as well as the northeast side of Salado. So 50, 60-mile-per-hour winds, that's on the leading edge of the storm. There's another little corridor where there's some higher winds showing up. Let's query that. That's moving over the Brazos River and parts of Falls County. You're seeing 40, 50-mile-per-hour winds. That will be rolling into Perry. And again, that could burst up to 60 miles per hour. The winds won't stay at 60 miles per hour for the whole time, but you get these little bursts that come in on the leading edge. Power out on Richter, thank you. Power out in the Baylor area, thank you. And just getting a lot of questions on when the winds will calm down. Well, the leading edge of the storm at the very least has to get out of your area. The thing is, since this thunderstorm, and I'll go back to the radar and show you what's going on, that may make the winds last a little longer. Notice how you're seeing just a little bit of a swirl here on the northern end of that. That is a little low pressure center that's formed in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. And when that happens, you can get gustier winds that can wrap around the back of that. It's what we call wake low. This is what brought the higher winds the other day. Even though the storms were real weak when they came through Waco, we have really gusty winds continued. That could continue into your morning commute with this. So 40, 50-mile-per-hour winds could be possible. I'm looking at some of these reports that continue to trickle in, and it's just a little replay of some of the reports. But I'm also watching the leading edge of the thunderstorm over here. Just because on the leading edge of the thunderstorm, occasionally you can get little spin-ups that happen along the gustiest winds that come through, so we don't have to worry about that as much. I'm not seeing that tornadic type of signature coming up on these storms. So this is just a windy storm that's coming through. It's enough to wake you up, though. I'm looking at some of the zip codes that are showing up on Encore here. Go back to that one real quick. I believe it was 76712. That's where we're seeing the highest outages right now. Customers affected close to 2,000. We have close to 957 in the McGregor zip code area. A little less on the north side of Waco. It looks like the west side of Waco is the hardest hit right now, just looking off screen at the Encore map. So a lot of you probably wondering when your power will come back on. I'm sure that causes issues when you're trying to sit there and try to get ready for work. That may be something that you have to end up watching at times as well. So again, severe thunderstorm warning continues. We are seeing the gusty winds roll through Waco. We've already had 61-mile-per-hour winds, if you're just joining us, that were reported in McGregor. We had 64-mile-per-hour winds that were reported in the Woodway area and 62-mile-per-hour winds that were reported in Evance. So we've seen those gusty winds continue to roll through. Again, this is not a tornadic thunderstorm that's moving through parts of McLennan and Bell County. We know it's likely woken you up. That's why we're here to get you through this. We have your coverage here on air. We also have coverage should you lose your power over on Facebook and on the 25 News app. But since this is rolling through the most populated areas of Central Texas. That's why we're staying with you here on air right now. Once it gets out of the more populated areas, we'll transition back over that digital format, and we'll have an update on your full forecast, which may include some more rain chances coming up on Good Morning Texas starting at 5 a.m. So we continue to track this storm that's moving through. Again, the highest winds are going to be on the leading edge of the storm, and in particular, I think McLennan County is most under the gun for the highest winds. That leading edge of the storm, that's now approaching parts of Axtell. You can see Elmont, Prairie Hill, Mart. Axtell's right here. Axtell, you're seeing heavier rain now. Taking on down into Hallsburg, where the TPNL reservoir is. You also have the Sandy Creek coal plant there to the west of Riesel. You're seeing the heavier rain now that's coming in closer to Highway 6. Still heavy rain falling in Waco, though the leading edge is away from that. That should help to alleviate some of that. You can also see the gustier winds coming out of the west side of that too. Here's the leading edge of the storms from Marlin down through Rosebud and Rogers. So this is where the gustiest winds will be coming through Falls, back over to Eastern Bell, Rogers, Salado, and heavier rain falling now through Bruceville, Eddy, back over through Temple, Killeen, and Salado. Again, 60-mile-per-hour winds possible with this, along with some nickel-size hail that may be falling from this storm as well. Getting reports on Facebook of street flooding. That's likely to happen with this heavier rain. So if you don't have to get on your morning commute right now, if you can give yourself a little bit of extra time, do that. Wait for the storm to pass. It'll make things a lot easier. Another severe thunderstorm warning to tell you about. We don't want to forget about our friends in Burnett County. That severe thunderstorm warning, let me query it real quick. That severe thunderstorm warning officially going until 4:30. That is for the potential for penny-sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. It's going to be from this core from Llano back over through Mason. So Horseshoe Bay, Burnett, you're going to get on that soon. Of course, our main concern continues to be the severe thunderstorm warning that we still have that runs until 4:30 now for Bell, Falls, McLennan, and Milam County, and that is because that storm is continuing to move off to the east. I want to put a track on the leading edge of that storm. This is when you can expect the gusty winds to reach your location. And let me move over here so I can show you that track. Marlin around 356, Rosebud around 401, Baileyville around 412. Baileyville is going to be in Milam County. Bremond, that's on the north end of Robertson, heading into Southern Falls County by 416. Cameron by 421. Cossie Mine, so the Cossie area by 424. Bald Prairie, we talked about you last week with a tornado that moved through. 430, 435 in Franklin, and 437 and Hearn as it works down into the Brazos Valley. Have a report of power out in Rosenthal. Thank you for that, John, as that has moved through. Getting a lot of questions on how long is the storm supposed to last. I want to show you where the edge of the strongest part of the storm is, and that is now in Woodway. So Woodway, we were talking about you roughly 20 minutes ago, seeing the leading edge. Now you're on the back edge of that storm. So the storm only sits over you for about 20 minutes, but in that 20 minutes, you're going to see heavy rain, you're going to hear a lot of thunder, you're going to get those gusty winds that could get closer to 60 miles per hour. So McGregor, you're starting to clear up. Just took another power hit. My little screen went off. I think the lightning hit very close to our station. So again, you're going to have the electricity along with the gusty winds moving through. Temple, Killeen, you're seeing heavy rain back over towards Salado. Again, none of this is tornadic. We don't have a tornado in Central Texas. We just have a gusty thunderstorm coming through that is producing up to 60-mile-per-hour winds and has produced 60-mile-per-hour winds. Some of the higher wind readings I'm seeing now, that's going to be right in here, this corridor from Highway 6. You're seeing the pink. That's where we're getting up closer to 60 miles per hour. Again, ignore my phone. Seeing the pink where we're getting closer to 60 miles per hour. That's going to be crossing Highway 6 here soon from Hallsburg down through Perry back over through Marlin, and then also down through Rosebud and towards Lott. There's the gusty wind on the south side of Bell County, west side of Salado. You're seeing gusty wind down. That's likely rolling into Academy. It's coming into Rogers. It's coming into Heidenheimer. Again, 60-mile-per-hour winds possible with that. That's not going to cause the massive damage we saw from Temple, nor will it cause the massive damage that we saw in the Dallas area. However, it can cause a little bit of damage. It can cause some windows to be blown out at times. So that's why we want you staying away from windows and in the center part of your house as that moves through. Bailey, do we have Heather ready with the power outages? Okay. Yeah, go ahead and if you can. So we're going to look at the power outages here. So you see the radar here with me. I want to track the power outages for you with Encore. because I'm seeing a lot of comments here that you're without power in Waco. So kind of give you an idea of what's coming through. Again, this is what gusty winds will do. Yeah, they won't cause the massive damage like what you saw in Dallas. They won't cause the massive damage like what you saw in Temple when you're talking 60-mile-per-hour winds. However, they will knock your power out, and that's what has happened here. You're clicking on downtown right now. So this is going to be Dean Highland, back over heart of Texas, the west side of downtown. We have a report in the 76707 area of close to 3,000 customers without power. Click on downtown real quick there. Oh, it doesn't want to take it. Okay, that's okay. Go up to that. Yeah, there we go. 76710. So Richland Hills, Parkdale, Mountain View, 2,500 customers without power. That's a pretty good chunk. I think the highest numbers have been down in the Woodway area, 2,300 without power. Let's go over to the east side of South Waco, going over towards Robinson there. 1,952 customers without power. And then back over towards Beverly Hills. Let's click on Beverly Hills there. 1,600 without power. So it's roughly been the south side of Waco that's been impacted the most. I want to go down to Bell County real quick, Bailey. Can we go down into Bell County and see what those outages are doing a little closer to Bell County? There's Bruceville, Eddy. There's Temple. Go into Killeen. You see the red? Yeah, there we go. Nolanville. Looks like you've got some of those higher power outages now as well. Oh, you know what's happening is we're looking at the radar underneath that. Click on Harker Heights real quick. Or Lorena, that works. While Bailey's talking about that, I want to tell you again, we have severe thunderstorm warnings in effect. We have a severe thunderstorm watch that goes until 7 a.m. I'm watching your comments down here. A bunch of folks saying the power is out. That's what we're looking at here, these numbers from Encore, 243 in the Lorena area. Let's go back over to radar. And we'll get an updated track here. Once this storm clears Killeen and Temple, we will transition over to more of a digital format. You can see that thunderstorm moving through. But right now, this is why we're still with you, because it's still moving through our most populated areas with that potential for gusty winds. Marlin, you've been under the leading edge of the storm now. Leading edge of the storm going from northern Williamson into parts of southeastern Bell County and also Falls County. You see the heavy rain falling down I-14, Temple, and Killeen. A lot of lightning there with that. That is going to cause some issues for you. That's why we want you to try to take it easy here, and maybe if you can wait out that morning commute just a little longer, wait, get your little update on the news here by 5 a.m. on Good Morning Texas, and then get out the door. I guarantee you conditions will be a lot better at 5 a.m. But right now, we continue to track the severe weather that's moving through. Again, that severe thunderstorm warning that is in place for parts of Bell, Falls, McLennan, and Milam County till 4:30. We're going to take a quick break here. We'll go over to digital now that the leading edge of this storm has gotten out of parts of Temple, Killeen, as well as the city of Waco. We'll take a break. We'll go over to digital. If we need to get back on air, we will. But come join us on Facebook and on the 25 News app. And remember, we're tracking storms and we're keeping you advised. So for those, yeah, we're going to stay on digital here. For those of you that are joining us here on Facebook, thank you. We're continuing to track the severe thunderstorms that are moving through. Again, a severe thunderstorm warning that is in place now. There's that severe thunderstorm warning for Bell, Falls, McLennan, and Milam County, though the core of the winds, the highest winds, are now working on the leading edge of that. So we aren't seeing as high of winds now in Waco. We aren't seeing as high winds now in parts of Killeen and Temple. We do have multiple power outages that are in effect. Encore reporting, county by county, we now have 16,000 customers without power in parts of McLennan County, and in Bell County, we're only reporting 407. It wouldn't surprise me if that goes up, but McLennan County got hit by some of the gustiest winds that have come through. Again, here's the heavy rain that's falling across parts of eastern McLennan County, going down into Falls County, a good core of heavy rain over Marlin, a good core of heavy rain over Temple, Belton, and Killeen. We'll put a track on the leading edge of this storm here. So we'll draw that. I'm going to redraw that. I don't like the way that drew. I'm going to draw that on the leading edge of the storm. This is where the gustiest winds are, and this is when you can expect the gustiest winds in your location. So Bartlett, closer to around 406. Rosebud by 408. Cossie by 411. Davila, that's going to be in parts of Milam County by 416. 421 by Groesbeck. 422 for Cameron. 429 for Bald Prairie. Franklin by around 435. 441 for Leon High School, which is going to be Jewett. Kaylee saying Galinda had serious winds. Thanks for reporting that. Wind woke you up in Chilton and Otsego. Thank you, Jennifer. No power off Colcord. Thank you, Iglesia. Courtney, no power off of HEB by Valley Mills. Thank you. No power by the Circle. Thank you, Nina. And a lot of folks talking about street flooding. Again, that is going to be an issue too. Anytime we're getting rain, after seeing all the rain we have had, we are going to have those issues that continue to move on through. Again, strong thunderstorms coming through. They are severe thunderstorms. They are not tornadic, which is good news. They are not going to produce the damage we saw in Temple. They're not going to produce the damage we saw in Dallas. However, 60-mile-per-hour winds, that can knock out power. It can knock out some limbs. It can blow your trash can around. It can occasionally blow in some windows. So that's why we're telling you to stay in the center part of your house away from windows as that continues to move through. Just getting a bunch of folks talking about lots of lightning now in Temple. Lots of lightning in Killeen. Let's take the airport camera. This is the Syntex airport camera. The Syntex roof systems camera, rather, at the Killeen Regional Airport. You can see the heavier rain that is falling now. Also, Sharon reporting close to 3 inches of rain since midnight on Orchard Lane in Waco. That's important. That means we are continuing to see more rain fall, which will lead to more street flooding that is going to happen. You see the heavier rain moving through now. Parts of Hillsborough, eastern side of McLennan County, Falls County. There's camera 6 again. Taking Falls County as well as Bell County, the heavier rain moving through. Got a report 3 miles east of Waco. We have a road closed. 3 miles east of Waco, road flooding, street road closed, vehicles stranded. Let me look at that on my screen. I don't see that showing up on my map, but 3 miles east of Waco, we now have a report of flash flooding. Let me see if I can pull that up on this here. There we go. So that report is going to be closer to Bosque and 84. Vehicles stranded reported there near Bosque and 84, according to the National Weather Service and our map there. So again, you do not want to get out on the roads here this morning, at least until the storms pass. By the time we get to that 5 a.m. commute, I think we're going to have a lot better conditions, especially when we get to 6, 7 o'clock. That will really help. You can see the wind reports we had earlier. Again, we had a report near Woodway there, 64-mile-per-hour winds, 61-mile-per-hour winds towards McGregor. Those wind reports denoted in the orange. And we also had that report of 62-mile-per-hour winds in Evans. So this storm has really been cooking as it's moved across the majority of central Texas. Again, that severe thunderstorm warning officially until 4:30. Now, it does look like the National Weather Service may have dropped. No, they still have McLennan County. It's hard to see that yellow line there, but they still have McLennan County. The leading edge of those storms, it's approaching Limestone County. Those of you in Prairie Hill, back over towards Groesbeck, Mejia, you're going to get in on this soon. In fact, we'll track that portion of the storm. We know a lot of you have just, all of Central Texas really has just been impacted by all the storms we've seen here as of late. Mejia, you've seen a lot of flooding. Mejia, you can expect this thunderstorm closer to 425. You can hear the electricity behind me. We still have a lot of thunder, a lot of lightning that's happening, and that is what is helping to cause the power outages along with the gusty winds. Groesbeck by around 421, Mejia by around 425, and Teague by around 439 as those storms continue to move through. Again, that severe thunderstorm warning continuing. We also have a severe thunderstorm watch. This kind of tells us the conditions are still ripe for us to see severe thunderstorms at least in the watch area. That goes until 7 a.m. You can see the orange counties here, again, including Waco, Temple, Killeen. It also includes areas all the way down to Georgetown. Bosque, I think you'll be dropped from this soon. You're in it right now, but we were able to shave Hamilton and Mills earlier. Bosque, I think you'll be dropped from this soon. As far as what the rest of the day is going, I want to kind of show you what that looks like, give you a quick look into the forecast as we start to get a little closer to showtime. Let me show you that. Where'd it go? There it is. All right, so here is future track for today. And let's look at it together. Again, there's those storms that are happening right now. There may be another round that tries to come in later on this morning too. And then maybe things start to quiet down a bit. Let's look at radar and see if that round's there, because models have really been struggling with this whole system that's moved through. And here's the good news. I don't see that yet. And one thing that may happen is, again, I mentioned how the storm has a little bit of a low developing with it. Again, look at the twist. You can look closely. It's kind of spinning there on the north side. That's not rotation that's going to produce a tornado, but it's rotation in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, very broad rotation, because we have a low pressure center that's developed on the north side of these thunderstorms. That does a few things. One, it's going to keep the gusty winds around. They won't reach 60 every time, but 40, 50 mile per hour winds may persist behind the storms as we get what's called a wake low developing in there. The second thing it's going to do is on the backside of it, we'll get some sinking air coming in. And I think that'll help to lower the chance of a second round building, or rather, this is now the third round, rather a fourth round building back to the northwest. That's important because if we get that happening, then that should lead to a fairly quiet morning commute. Yeah, it's going to be gusty. Yeah, the roads are going to be wet. It's going to be a mess still because you don't want to be on wet roads. It's not fun, but at least it gets the severe thunderstorms out of here. And you can tell there's still rain and lightning that's happening on the backside of these storms. Meridian, you're seeing moderate rain back through Turnersville, Hamilton, Gatesville. The strongest part of the storms, though, continuing to be that leading edge, which is now cleared Waco. That's good news. That means those 60 mile per hour gusts, they're likely done in Waco. They're likely done in Temple. They're likely done in Killeen. You can head back to bed now and just listen to the rain. Yeah, it's going to be thundering. Maybe you can still get an hour of sleep in before that alarm comes up and wakes you up for your morning commute. But those thunderstorms continue to work through parts of Falls County. Milam County, you've got the leading edge. That's now approaching parts of Robertson County, as well as Limestone County. Jarrell, you're seeing the leading edge on the north side of Williamson County. And then also moving back towards Buckholz, Thorndale, there on the north side of Milam County, you're seeing the leading edge of the storms that, again, has that potential to produce gustier winds. And one thing I want to look at now, and this is important, I've mentioned how we've been looking a few thousand feet up in the air at these storms. Now we'll be able to see the lowest level and what this is actually producing, because the radar site is in northern Williamson County. You can't see it because that banner's right there, but the radar site's in northern Williamson County, and so it's looking a little lower in the atmosphere now at some of these wind readings that are coming in, so we can have a better idea of what happens on the leading edges of these storms now that that is in place. There's the velocity closer to, it's trying to query it for me. I don't know why it's not working. There we go, 44 mile per hour winds. Jarrell closer to 38. So the winds may be coming down a little bit, which would be good news. That would be lowering that threat just a bit. So back over here to the leading edge of the storms. We'll put the latest track on these storms for you as they are moving off to the east. Power back on in Lakeshore. Good news. My dog will be happy. That's my neck of the woods. My dog will be happy to have the power back on. She doesn't like it when her music gets cut off while I'm gone. Coolidge around 412, Cameron around 414, Groesbeck 422. This is the leading edge of the storm. So when you can expect the gustiest wind, you'll expect the first effects of these storms as it's coming through. Cossie 427, Franklin 435, Teague around 439, Fairfield at 447. Hilltop Lakes, that's a little community on the west side rather of Leon County, 452. Lake Bryan, the north side of Bryan, 455. Centerville by around 5 o'clock if this holds together. And I think it will. It may not be as strong when it reaches you. There may not be a warning for your location when it reaches you. But this is still a very potent line of thunderstorms that's coming through. It's losing a bit of its definition. Part of that may be because I added a little radar to it. We take this radar off. More rain for the Golson area. You're still seeing rain in Golson. Thank you, Shauna, for that. And I'm going to pull up these comments once again, look at them, so I can see what y'all are saying as you're moving through here. There we go. A lot of people talking about power. A lot of people talking about power. And also some reported damage by Woodway and the Arboretum. Not sure exactly what damage that is, but it may be something to keep an eye out for. If you're on your morning commute, there's probably going to be branches down. So be careful as you're getting on the roads when you wake up in your commute, or you wake up and you get on your commute, rather. Even at 7 o'clock, some of those street crews may have not been out there to clean it up. So there's likely still going to be some branches down. You get 60-mile-per-hour winds, that can knock down some pretty healthy branches. So watch for that. That could impact your morning commute, as well as the wet roadways and the flooding that could still be ongoing. Again, here's the leading edge of those storms. It has lost some of its definition. When it was back here, I'll roll it back here, 2 hours ago. Look how sharp. We'll get to that in a second. Look how sharp the edge of that storm was. Now as I move it through here, it's not near as sharp. You're seeing more jaggedy edges. That means the storm has lost some of its definition, and that's important because that says, hey, it's a little weaker. So our wind values may be coming down just a little bit, which would be good news. Folks are asking about hail. I think it's Danny that's asking about hail. The hail threat, very minimal. It's going to be with the strongest part of those thunderstorms, which is now in Falls and Bell County. You can see that's only showing up as blue. That's small hail. So this is going to be P to walnut size hail. Severe hail starts at quarters. This is going to be smaller than that. It's going to be smaller than nickels, smaller than pennies, probably closer to dimes, M&Ms, Ps, small hail. Yeah, it'll go ping, ping, ping on your window, but it won't cause any issues. That is the good news. At least it won't cause any sort of damage. The pea-sized hail doesn't do that. Yeah, you don't want to run into it. You really don't want to be out in it. You don't really, it's not fun to drive in, but pea-sized hail is just going to go ping, ping, ping on your window as opposed to knocking your window out like some of the bigger hail would. Again, we're continuing to track this. The wind's still pretty high with this. Have not had any new reports since it's left McLennan County, but we did have 61-mile-per-hour winds that occurred in McGregor, 62-mile-per-hour winds that occurred in Evant, and 64-mile-per-hour winds that occurred in Woodway. That's why we're seeing the power outages across parts of McLennan and Bell County. Again, that thunderstorm moving through. You can see how it's backing up here. We're starting to see that little twist back here again. That means the gustiest winds are going to be on the south side of that twist. So into parts of Falls, northern Robertson, northern Milam, stretching back into Bell County where we'll see that. Killeen, Temple, you're starting to lighten up. We're seeing lighter colors showing up there instead of the deeper reds. So that means you're going to see more moderate rain, less of that heavier rain. Waco also switching over to that moderate rain. Yeah, we're still going to have thunder. You're still going to have intermittent lightning, but the wind should come down and the rain should lessen up a little bit. I'm going to look at the power outages real quick. Now up to 18,000 customers without power in McLennan County. So again, those gusty winds, they cause issues with the power lines. You get the branches falling. The branch can snag the power line that cause issues. Again, there's probably branches down in McLennan County in places and in the city of Waco that you'll have to be dodging here on your morning commute, so be careful. 576 customers without power in Bell. That tells me the strongest part of the storm came through McLennan County, and that's what we saw. We saw those reports coming up Highway 84 of those 60 to 64 mile per hour winds that moved through. Let's put a quick track on the storm for those of you watching. Going to stay with you till probably at least 4:30 for this warning to go ahead and see if they reissue it or if they extend it. Got to get a few things ready for Good Morning Texas, which starts at 5 a.m. We hope you join you then. Here's that track for you, though. Groesbeck by around 4:18, 4:23 Bahia, 4:26 by Cameron, 4:37 Franklin. Leon High School, that's going to be Jewett by around 4:40. Hilltop Lakes, 4:48. Buffalo, 4:52. Centerville, 4:57. North Zulch, that's north side of Madison County. You saw some pretty severe weather in Madison County yesterday. North Zulch, 5:09 a.m. So this is going to continue to work across the area. I'm looking for a few of these more comments. Bunch of people just talking about storms, or rather the power going out, getting kind of hot without the fans going. I know that feeling. Hazel's asking, she has a commute from Waco to Corsicana. Is it safe to leave the house now? As far as the wind's concerned, I think the core of that wind will be going to the south of Corsicana. You're still going to fight some lightning. Be careful, both hands on the wheel if you're out there driving, because again, we'll get some high winds on the backside of the storm too. They may not reach 60, but 40-mile-per-hour winds can accompany that, especially if we get that, what's called that wake low developing, where you get some higher pressure that's happened on the front side of the storm. On the back side, you get some lower pressure, and the wind just rushes from that. So you have to watch for that some. Again, we did have a report of vehicles stranded. I'm trying to mouse over that again. The mouse will work. There we go. Had a report of vehicles stranded that was 3 miles east of Waco. So that was actually reported closer to the Bosque Boulevard areas where we saw that when we did zoom in with our storm reports. Again, high winds, likely on the leading edge of this storm as it's coming through northern Milam County, Cameron. You're about to get the high winds. Bremond, you should be seeing the high winds right now, as well as Groesbeck, Mejia. You'll be getting them soon. Cossie, Thornton, there's Bremond. Calvert, you'll see the high winds as well. Calvert's just there to the south of Bremond. Cameron, you're going to see the high winds. Lake Granger as well. Heavy rain now moving into Georgetown. Heavy rain moving through Burnett. But the good news is this is quick moving, so this will be over quick. Again, it didn't last too long when it came. It lasted long enough to be annoying when it came through Waco, but that warning, it's just about to the edge of that warning. So either this warning will be extended at 4:30 or they'll drop it. Haven't heard anything from the Weather Service on what they're going to do yet. We'll know soon enough because we're kind of heading up there. Let's see some of these other comments coming in. Big tree fell on my truck and into the middle of the street at the corner of Nelva and Daughtry in Waco. So that is going to be on the east side of Waco. I believe in South Waco is where that is. Daughtry is going to be south of Baylor. So Carolyn, thanks for reporting that. I hope that you get things worked out with your truck. It's not fun when you see that. And again, it's not hard to get trees to fall over when we've had as much rain as we had. The ground's real soft. So if that tree doesn't have a deep root system, which can happen when you go from periods of drought to periods of flooding, then you don't have to have super high winds to knock down trees. That's why we've been with you here. Even though this is a low-end severe thunderstorm warning, or what we call that, with 60-mile-per-hour winds, we know that the damage can still occur, and we know it can still impact you, which is why we're talking about that. Gloria also saying, tree fell on our power lines and house. Sorry to hear that, Gloria. Hopefully we can get things worked out with your house. Verizon already having outages. Thank you for that, April. And a lot of folks just talking about all of these thunderstorms that are moving through, no power, heavy rain, and wind still in Axtell. Thank you for that report. Worst is over for Temple, says Fred. Yes, that is correct. Temple, you are now under the lesser part of the storm. It's still going to be a warm and humid Friday. It's going to be cooler. And basically where that's coming from, Bailey back in the back is feeding me a couple comments and a couple questions that have come up on Facebook. There's not really a cold front associated with this. If there is, it's very weak. There's a stationary front that's kind of been flirting around with Texas. We saw a supercell thunderstorm form on that out in Midland that dropped a tornado. So there is a stationary front that's been moving around. That's why we're seeing enough lift to create these thunderstorms. But none of this is really going to cool us off a ton. We're still going to get into the mid to upper 80s this afternoon. And it's still going to be humid, definitely, because we've had all this rain. That adds to the humidity. So expect another warm, another humid day. Now, the good news is it's not going to be 95 and humid. That would feel awful after this rain. That 95 would feel more like 105. In this case, though, it's going to be mid-80s and feeling more like that. Let's see, Shane saying the wedding's tomorrow in Bertram. The good news is the more storms we have now, the less we'll likely see tomorrow, because you're just really eating up that energy. There's still a chance of storms, but Shane, I'll tell you right now, I haven't seen a massive signal that we're going to have widespread thunderstorms tomorrow. If we do, I think it would likely be during the overnight hours again that we could see those thunderstorms flare up. Because basically what's happening, and that's what happened with this, these storms started well in West Texas. They came through, they picked back up as they neared our area and flared up, and that's what caused these to move through. And that is kind of typical for this time of year. We get these systems that come in off of what's called northwest flow. What happens is we have high pressure sitting over Mexico. Typically in the summer, that'll build in over us. Sometimes it happens a little earlier. Last year, it happened earlier. This time last year, we were looking at temperatures in the triple digits. This year, that has not happened, part of which is because we've had all the rain. that is made it harder to bake all of that out and build that high. So that high is not transitioned over us. When you're on the north side of that high, it flows around it like this. And so you get thunderstorms that start up here and then they come down like that. Or rather, I'm drawing it backwards. They start up here and they come down. I can't orient myself with the camera this early in the morning. But the idea, they start here, they move that way. So you watch for thunderstorms that pop up over West Texas, and they can ride the flow of the atmosphere into our area. That typically happens in early June, late May. We're kind of right on target with that. Eventually, that will cut off, and we'll get heat building back in, and it'll be summer again. A lot of folks asking, what is later today looking like? We could still have some thunderstorms. Some models bring in that threat. Some don't. I want to look at this model real quick. This is what's called the HRRR model. Then we'll get back to tracking that storm. It's a little slow. It says, hey, these storms we're getting right now, it should be rolling in at 4 a.m. in our western counties. Yeah, that didn't happen. It does have the potential for more thunderstorms developing this afternoon. However, I'll tell you right now, when you get these storms that have built in a little bit more, and Bailey, we do have a report of thunderstorm wind damage 2 miles northeast of Beverly Hills. They have 3 inch, so this about this big, tree limbs that were knocked down and power poles broken. So I don't know if you want to pass that on to Doug. See if we can get some of that. That's fine. So that was 2 miles northeast of Beverly Hills. That's probably pretty close to where we are here. So if he just drives around the neighborhood, he may see something. So this is why we were covering the thunderstorms that rolled through and why you're seeing these power outages as well. 3 inch tree limbs and power poles broken in the Beverly Hills area. 60-mile-per-hour winds could do that. That's why we wanted to get on air and kind of let you know what's going on so that when you woke up, you heard the window rattling, you knew, hey, this is a thunderstorm we don't want to mess around with. So as I was saying, the thunderstorms that have built now, think of the atmosphere as a gas tank, right? So you have fuel for these thunderstorms. Eventually that empties. When you have multiple rounds like we've had overnight, that is just eating up a lot of that energy. It's hard to build it back up and see thunderstorms in the afternoon as a result. Now, if we get the heating going in the atmosphere, we really warm up, we get the humidity, yeah, we get the thunderstorms going. However, you've wasted all that energy already. So what's more likely is the thunderstorms we get going this afternoon aren't severe. We may see a couple of thunderstorms, but I'm not seeing the widespread signatures like we're seeing. So even if the model has that, that kind of tells me, probably not. Here's Saturday. I know, Shane, we were talking about your wedding, and you can see that it's nice and dry there on Saturday. So hopefully that trend continues. There may still be some thunderstorm chances, but I'm not seeing the big signal of the very heavy rain that could be coming through like what we're seeing right now. So back to the radar. Again, we still have the severe thunderstorm warning. It still goes for at least 7 minutes now. Have not heard from the National Weather Service that they are going to extend that, but you can see the thunderstorms going from Groesbeck down into southern. I do not. Let me see. Yeah. They have a lat line on here. I don't know how accurate that's going to be, but 31.54 north. If you type it into Google, it'll pull something up. 31.54 north, negative 97.14 west. So if you type that in Google, it'll show up. Falls, McLennan, Milam, Robertson County, severe thunderstorm warning till Friday at 4:30. Again, penny-size hail possible now, so the hail size has come down. Remember, this was Nichols when it started to roll into Waco. Wind speeds to 60 still possible. Although, again, this storm is losing more of its definition, so I think you may be looking at more 55-mile-per-hour winds. We've only had the maximum wind we've seen out of this storm, at least measured, was 64-mile-per-hour winds that were measured in Woodway. 61-mile-per-hour winds were measured in McGregor, and we had 62-mile-per-hour winds that were measured in Evan. All right, National Weather Service, they've gone ahead. They've issued a new warning. There it is, Freestone, Leon, Limestone, Robertson County. That goes until 5:15 Friday. So we're still going to be tracking this all the way into the Brazos Valley. The National Weather Service saying with that, hail up to the size of pennies, winds to 60 miles per hour possible with that. Looking at a few more of these chats. And by the way, folks, if you're getting up this morning, you see damage, send it to us, 25 News Facebook page. You can send it to me, Josh Johns, KXXV, KRHD. And please let us know if we have permission to use that on air and on other platforms. That's important so we can use that. I want to be able to show how these storms impacted folks. So if you ended up seeing some damage, or if you saw some hail, maybe you saw some wind yourself, you got video of the storms coming through, send it to us. We'd love to use it on here on Good Morning Texas here in the next 30 minutes. So Freestone, Leon, I know you, Leon County. Leon County's beautiful. Leon County, Limestone County, Robertson County, 5:15 a.m. Vacation once there. It was nice. 5:15 a.m. Penny-sized hail, 60-mile-per-hour winds that are moving through. Waco, yeah, we're still seeing the rain. We're still seeing the lightning. It's still loud. It's still probably keeping you from getting back to sleep, but the severe part of the storm is no longer around. Bell County, the severe part of the storm is no longer around. That is south of you. The severe part of the storm is in Milam County, so Milam into northern Robertson, right into the heart of Limestone County from Groesbeck to Lake Limestone. You may be able to barely make out Lake Limestone right there. You're seeing the leading edge of these storms now, so you could also see 60-mile-per-hour winds rolling into Lake Limestone, as well as the north side of Robertson County down into Milam County and over towards parts of Williamson and Bell County as these storms are working through. Again, I mentioned earlier, if you've been watching me, or watching our coverage rather, I mentioned that we have this little low that's developing here. Now, again, what can happen with that, and this happens in the wake of a big thunderstorm complex, is that can produce gusty winds on the south side of that. So don't be surprised if we see gustier winds lasting beyond the thunderstorm. I don't think they'll reach 60 miles per hour, but the type of winds that can come from that, you can see some 40, 50 mile per hour wind gusts that can still happen on the backside of that. So even as you're heading to work today, 7 a.m., the storms may be gone. They may be out of your area. We're just dealing with light rain, 7 a.m. Those gusty winds could still be hanging around on the backside. So please be careful as you're getting on the roads this morning. Again, both hands on the wheel. Don't want to deal with that. Let's go ahead and look at, I'm looking off air at some of these Encore outages. We're still at 18,000, close to 19,000 now, customers without power in McLennan County. Bell County, that number's now up to 694. Falls, 462. Limestone now at 112. Leon at 117. 446 in Freestone. 121 in Hill and 105 in Coryell. So we're still tracking the power outages. I'm still hearing a lot of you folks talking about the power as well, losing power in Hewitt. Brian has video of the skittle size hail. That's a good way to talk about the size of hail because we know how big a skittle is. The problem with calling it marble size hail, I was talking to Matt about this earlier last night, whatever it was. This can be a marble. This can be a marble. It can vary in size. So if you can tell us skittle, if you can tell us other things like that, things that are more just more defined, that really helps. April says Lakeshore has no power. Again, my dog's probably going to be cranky at that. I'm sure the internet's out already, so the power's probably out too. Kind of got a notification. I'm sure they're hand in hand right now. There's some of that rain moving through. Again, we'll track this for you. I want to put a later track on this. I'm going to have to leave you closer to the next 5 to 10 minutes and get things prepped for Good Morning Texas, which we'll have the latest update for you on what to expect through the rest of the day. But I don't want to forget about you folks and some of our far eastern counties. Again, beautiful country out there. Centerville's nice, pretty. They got a nice farmer's market downtown. Bought some nice lemon pie there once. You're going to see this thunderstorm as well. Franklin, 436. Leon High School, that's going to be Jewett. That's going to be Marquette by around 445. There's Jewett actually at 449. So Marquette closer to 445. Hilltop Lakes, that's a community on the west side of Leon County, 452. Centerville around 502. Texas A&M Rellis campus, that's going to be on the northwest side of Bryan by 506. Bryan at 509. Bryan College Station, so the center of the metropolitan area by 517. A&M Consolidated High School, you'll be seeing this thunderstorm by 521. So this is going to continue to work through central Texas into parts of Brazos County as well. Severe thunderstorm watch now dropped for Coryell and Bosque County. More great news there. Love seeing that. And I'm still watching your comments. Again, I'm going to have to leave here in the next 5 minutes or so to Get ready for Good Morning Texas. Veronica, thank you for your report on the Beverly Hills being without power. Again, we have a report of wind damage that has happened in the Beverly Hills area. That happened to be 3-inch size limbs, so about that wide, that fell off the trees. That causes some power outages, and they had some power poles down too. Wind will do that. That's why these warnings exist. That's why the National Weather Service in their research has come out and said, hey, the criteria for a severe thunderstorm, yeah, 40, 50 is annoying, but 60 can cause damage according to the criteria and according to the research they've done. And that's why these warnings come out over years and years of research for those special thresholds for 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-size hail. When I was a kid, it was penny-size hail that caused a severe thunderstorm warning. So they came out and they said, that's a little too aggressive. That's not true. 60-mile-per-hour winds, though. Again, Freestone, Leon, Limestone, Robertson County, you're seeing the heavier rain now that is coming through. Radar indicated winds, so these have not been reported. However, we've had 61-mile-per-hour wind gusts that occurred in McGregor. We had a 62-mile-per-hour wind gust that occurred in Evant, and a 64-mile-per-hour wind gust that occurred in Woodway. That's what's rolled into the Waco area and caused that damage too, with the wind damage that's occurred in Beverly Hills. We also had cars that were stranded near downtown Waco in the rain. Again, when these storms move through, they're going to cause street flooding. You don't want to mess around with that with all the rain that we have had. Put a loop on this, you can see where it's gone. That's the last 30 minutes. Let me show you the last hour, how much ground this storm has covered in the last hour. So an hour ago, this storm was on the west side of Waco. It's already shot out into the I-45 corridor almost. So this storm is moving at a really good clip. That's good news. It means the storm won't last too long. Still getting no power on Colcord. Thank you for that report as well. Folks down in Williamson County, we know you're watching in Gerald. You're seeing heavy rain from Burnett. Rosebud, Cameron, heavy rain. Heavy rain now rolling into Groesbeck. And again, this is losing some more of its definition. I want to go over to one radar site, and that's going to show you a little bit more on how this storm has really weakened. That's the last 30 minutes. Let's go to the last hour. Here's the last hour. It was real red over Waco and Temple. Now look, way less of that red. So the storm's weakening. However, because of the dynamics in the atmosphere, we have a very wound up atmosphere. I mean, we had thunderstorms form out of literally nothing. Which is false. There's always something. But literally nothing for the most part yesterday morning. There was no feature that should have formed those thunderstorms, and they still formed. We have a very wound up atmosphere. It's just releasing all of its energy in the form of wind here this morning. We've had rounds of thunderstorms. This has been the strongest round, it appears, so far, producing that wind damage in parts of Waco. That's now rolling into the eastern counties, but notice that color's really gone down. That's good news. That bodes well for those of you in parts of Leon, Freestone, and Robertson, as well as Milam, Limestone counties. Again, still capable of some 60-mile-per-hour winds. I tell you guys what, I got to get ready for Good Morning Texas. We'll have the latest update on the weather coming up at 5 o'clock, what you can expect for the rest of the day. I'll be tracking these storms on air. We'll continue to watch this. If anything happens that warrants cutting in or cutting back on air, cutting back on Facebook, I'll be back with it. We'll keep you safe. But for now, I'm going to go get ready for Good Morning Texas. We'll have your latest news, weather, even sports coming up at 5 a.m., 5 to 7 a.m. Join us. But for now, I'm tracking storms. We're keeping you advised here with 25. Thanks for joining us.